Hey there, all you heroes out there. I'm your professional protagonist, and I'm here to talk to you today on Hell Yeah Gaming with a quick little video just covering my top 5 favorite Zelda games. Just because I felt like throwing it out there. You know, it's been a while since I've done a kind of list or discussion kind of thing. And since I don't have other things prepared, that's what I decided to go out ahead and I was just gonna say go out and go ahead. Go ahead and throw out for you. So, starting at number 5. And then I have to rethink about it because my brain just shut down. Haha. Let's see here. Yes. So, number 5 is A Link Between Worlds, the top-down handheld from the 3DS, Link Between Worlds, where Link gets the ability to merge with walls as a painting, and that was just such a fantastic and brilliant mechanic that was well utilized throughout the entire game. It was Aaron of Game Grumps, I believe. Yes, absolutely. Not I believe, 100%. Who said that it's basically like jumping in any other game. It's integrated so well that it's natural and it feels just like an extension of anything that you can do normally. And that's absolutely true. On top of the story being very unique for the normal Zelda formula, despite still following the Zelda formula quite closely, and being so for a game that's so tied down to A Link to the Past, it really maintains its own identity in that way. Moving on up to number 4, that would be the previous thing that I just listed, A Link to the Past. This is the big Zelda title that really set the franchise formula for decades. That's not even an exaggeration. It was, Zelda 1, Zelda 2, a complete departure, and then A Link to the Past, which took what Zelda 1 did and, put it on the Super Nintendo, revamped everything, refined everything, created the Master Sword, which it's almost impossible to imagine Zelda without the Master Sword anymore. And it just, I say laid the foundations for everything else to come. And that feels trite to say at this point because it's something that is said so often, but it is true. It is still my favorite top-down 2D Zelda. I don't know what that hand motion was, but woo! It's still my favorite top-down 2D Zelda, and that probably will not change because I honestly feel like its mechanics, its story, the map and world, everything that it does really is set up that well and holds up to that extent, at least in my opinion. It's held in very high regard by so many people, and I know a lot of people also like to go, everyone says that, but it's so old it doesn't hold up that well. Yeah, that's perfectly fine if that's how you feel. My own thoughts is I'm not holding it in such high regard because it set the foundation for everything to come afterwards. That's just one aspect, but I sincerely believe that on its own, it's still that good. Leading us into number 3, which is my top 3 are so close that really the amount of distinction between them as far as levels of my enjoyment is incredibly minimal. You could hand any of them to me on any given day and I'd be just as happy. But number 3, The Wind Waker. It was, oh man, The Wind Waker. This one had so much controversy when it originally came out because of people criticizing the graphics, feeling like it made it way too kiddie after what the the GameCube Tech Expo showed with the more realistic Link versus Ganondorf sword fight, but it works to this game's advantage so well by one creating a very timeless look, which the next two games that I do hold above it, you know, as amazing as they are, their graphics don't have that same timeless artistic feel to it. They are very much dated. Wind Waker will never be dated because that's just the art style at work. So good. But two, because it creates so much personality. And even like, again, even though Wind Waker is only my third favorite of the whole franchise, it created my favorite Link and my favorite Ganondorf of the entire timeline. And that is no small feat. I am just in love with every moment of anything on screen when Wind Waker is being played. The adventure angle, the seafaring music, all of it. Oh, I say adventure angle like this whole franchise isn't about some kind of adventure, but you know what I mean. The world exploration and the just seeing the islands show up on the horizon, getting closer to them, and exploring around this world that's been flooded but still full of such vibrancy and wonders. I love every moment of it, which is not what I can. It's not even what I can say for the two games above Wind Waker on my list. But you know, it does not come without some flaw to it, which is that you know, there are points where you do really feel like you wonder what you're doing. The hunt for the Triforce pieces is especially in the before the remaster, a lot of I want to say very tedious and without very good direction. Though I also feel that in a way that does help you to like just give you more incentive to explore all the different islands. But that's everything that I can say regarding Wind Waker. Top tier. Right above that, this is the big one that everyone always loves, the one everyone cites for like #1 game all time, not just Zelda but game period. And it's not Breath of the Wild, it's Ocarina of Time. And what is there to say about Ocarina of Time that hasn't been said a billion times by a billion different people? Like, there's nothing I can tell you about it that's gonna change your mind one way or the other, or reinforce how much it's loved. And the fact that it was the very first foray into 3D for the franchise makes it even more special and amazing. I can't imagine how much work Aonuma and the rest of the team put into it to make it just work, because it does. And while there's definitely plenty of it that is dated, you know, like I mentioned previously during Wind Waker, the graphics are definitely not pleasing to the eye anymore. It still maintains the feel of wonder when you leave Kokiri Forest for the first time. This small child who's only ever known this little village of forest spirits, leaving out into something so much bigger than himself, than anything he's ever known. And it just hits me every time and knocks me back. The story is it's probably the first time that The Legend of Zelda, well, maybe not the first time, because there was Link's Awakening before, and to some extent A Link to the Past, but it felt like, for me, it was the first time that the story really took a front seat in how everything works, and it created so much deeper and rich lore that still persists. This is where we got the Sacred Realm. Previously it was the Golden Land that Ganon corrupted, but now we have a more official title for it, the Sacred Realm. The Master Sword returns. We get the, you know, some deeper explanation into the triad, the Link, Zelda, Ganon. And for the longest time, it was, you know, the earliest of the timeline. Not that there was an official timeline back then, but, you know, fans had their theories for a long time. And it's my second favorite Ganondorf, just behind Wind Waker. I love the Wind Wakers for how they made him so much more human, and the emotions they put behind him. But in Ocarina of Time, he really got to showcase the sheer level of malice and his genius, and the way that the story takes a turn where, oh, the first half of everything you were doing was actually exactly what he wanted you to do, and it led to him taking over, and now the whole world is crap. There's nothing I can say that hasn't been said a billion times, which leads me into my all-time favorite, not just Zelda game, my all-time favorite game, period, forever, is Majora's Mask, the direct sequel to Ocarina of Time. And you see it all the time. Like, at this point, I'm starting to wonder if it's even actually true that it's like #1 underrated Zelda game ever, because everywhere you go, that's where you see at the top of the list, and you always see all these Majora's Mask underappreciated lists and articles and blog posts and opinions everywhere. At some point, when does it stop being the most underappreciated and just becomes like one that's mainstream liked? Because that's how it feels at this point in time, where so many people talk about how great it is. So I really wonder where that line gets drawn, because that's how it feels for me, that it's always actually been just as liked as every other. But I digress. It tells a very different story from the previous game. It makes things so much more personal. Like, it starts on a much smaller scale, and while the stakes are just as high, if not higher, it's a far more personalized, personal feel to it. All of the people in this parallel world of Termina, you get to understand them and know them and connect with them on an emotional level, as you see over and over again their day-to-day lives over this 3-day cycle. And you get to really dive deep into what makes each person tick, and how they all feel, and how they develop as the world is coming to an end around them. What they do to cope, how they feel about it at the beginning versus at the end, when there's no longer any room for denial. And it's just, I've said before, and at some other points, that I love starting things fresh, starting over from nothing. And Majora's Mask gives me the opportunity to wipe the slate clean and experience it over and over again, even without like deleting a save file and starting over. even if I still carry forth all my main items, I can still do the same stories, the same quests, and start fresh. And that's just something very special to me, on top of how emotional everything is. So there's my top 5 favorite all-time Zelda games for your entertainment. This video went on a bit longer than I thought it would, now at almost 15 minutes 30 seconds. So I hope that you enjoyed this little discussion. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite Zelda games are and what reasons for them, and hey, what you think about my list. I hope to see y'all again, and thank you for sitting through. I think we can all agree that The Legend of Zelda, for its 35th anniversary this year, deserves itself a great big hell yeah!